Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that deep inside every one of us there's a monster, a force so raw and untamed that it can be terrifying just to think about? But what if I told you that this monster is not your enemy? It is a part of you, and it holds the potential for transformation and greatness if you dare to face it. We all have a part of us that we don't always like to acknowledge, a part that we try to hide from the world, and sometimes even from ourselves. It's the beast within, the darkness that lurks beneath the surface, ready to emerge when we least expect it. This monster manifests as our fears, our doubts, our frustrations, our anger, and our insecurities. It's the voice that tells us we are not good enough, that we'll fail, or that we'll never measure up. It's the thing we often run from, hoping it will disappear if we ignore it long enough. But here's the thing, the more we run from it, the stronger it becomes. The more we try to suppress it, the more power we give it over us. So I ask you, what if we didn't run? What if we faced it head on? The truth is, we all have this monster inside of us. It's part of being human. No one is immune to it. Everyone has their own battles to fight, their own struggles to overcome. But here's the powerful part. These inner struggles don't define us unless we let them. It's not about denying the monster's existence. It's about confronting it, understanding it, and using it as a source of strength instead of fear. Our inner darkness doesn't need to control us, and it certainly doesn't have to destroy us. Instead, we have the power to use it, to transform it, and to make it a driving force that propels us forward. Many of us fear this darker side of ourselves. We fear the anger that wells up inside when we feel unjustly treated, the jealousy that makes us compare ourselves to others, the anxiety that paralyzes us from taking risks. But if we dare to look closer, we begin to realize that these emotions, these feelings, are not weaknesses. They are signals, they are reminders of our humanity. The monster inside doesn't exist to tear us down, it exists to challenge us. It's the part of us that reminds us of what is important, what matters most. If we can learn to listen to it instead of rejecting it, we can begin to understand its true power. What if, instead of trying to suppress these emotions, we accepted them for what they are? What if we acknowledged our inner monster, not as a force to be feared, but as an ally in our personal growth? The process of understanding our inner struggles, of acknowledging the parts of ourselves that we'd rather ignore, is the first step toward transforming them. The darkness inside us holds untapped potential. When we confront our monster, we don't just survive, it forces us to grow stronger. We begin to realize that the fears and doubts we experience are not signs of weakness, they are opportunities for growth. They test us, yes, but they also shape us into more resilient and capable individuals. The battle with our inner monster is not something that can be won overnight. It is a continuous process, a lifelong journey. But this struggle, this confrontation with ourselves, is where the magic happens. We often think that strength comes from never feeling fear, but in reality, true strength comes from acknowledging the fear, facing it, and choosing to move forward anyway. The monster inside doesn't disappear just because we ignore it. It only gets louder. It only gets stronger. But when we face it, when we understand it, we begin to take away its power over us. It is no longer a force that controls us, but a part of us that we control. And as we gain control over our inner struggles, we realize something incredible. The very thing we feared most is what holds the key to our ultimate strength. When we accept and understand the monster inside, it no longer remains a threat. It becomes a force of empowerment. The darkness inside of us doesn't need to define us. Instead, it can refine us, shaping us into the best version of ourselves. So I say, let us embrace the struggle, let us face the darkness, and let us transform the monsters inside into the very fuel that drives us toward greatness. We live in a world that often teaches us to run from the darkness within, to ignore the parts of ourselves that make us uncomfortable, and to suppress the emotions and desires that don't fit into society's neat little boxes. We're told that in order to be successful, to be strong, we must always project an image of perfection, always be in control, and never allow our shadows to surface. But what if I told you that by embracing the very darkness we try to hide, we could unlock an unimaginable source of power and potential. What if the key to unlocking your true strength lies not in denying the darkness inside of you, but in facing it head on? Our darkness is not inherently evil. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's simply part of being human. We all have the light and the shadow, the good and the bad, the strengths and the weaknesses. And here's the truth that many are afraid to admit. The shadow is as powerful, if not more so, than the light. When we deny the darkness within, we inadvertently give it control over us. The more we try to ignore it, the more it festers, quietly waiting for the right moment to show itself in a destructive way. But when we decide to embrace it, to understand it, and to channel its energy, we can transform it into something that propels us forward rather than holding us back. When we choose to embrace our darkness, we are acknowledging that it is not something to fear. In fact, it is often the key to understanding who we truly are. Our emotions, however uncomfortable they may be, whether it's anger, jealousy, fear, or sadness, are simply signals that tell us something important about our inner world. Anger might signal a sense of injustice, jealousy could point to unmet desires, and fear often reveals the areas where we need to grow. Instead of pushing these emotions away or labeling them as bad, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? What does this emotion tell me about my true desires, my weaknesses, or my opportunities for growth? The power of embracing our darkness is that it helps us gain clarity. When we confront our fears and insecurities, we begin to understand where they stem from. We no longer let them dictate our lives from the shadows. Instead, we shine a light on them, understand their origins, and begin to make conscious choices about how to deal with them. In this process, we stop being passive victims of our emotions and become active creators of our own responses to life. By embracing our darkness, we are able to harness it in a way that makes us stronger, more grounded, and more authentic. Think of the greatest stories in history. The heroes who faced incredible trials and challenges, who fought against seemingly insurmountable odds. What made them great wasn't the absence of fear or doubt, but their ability to face these emotions and rise above them. They didn't try to erase the darkness within, they used it. They allowed it to fuel their determination, their courage, and their will to fight for what they believed in. They didn't shy away from the parts of themselves that others might consider flaws or weaknesses. They embraced them and found the strength to rise. When we embrace our darkness, we stop pretending to be perfect. We become more real, more authentic, more human. And in that authenticity, we find a power that cannot be replicated by pretending to be something we're not. The power of embracing our darkness isn't about glorifying negativity or surrendering to destructive forces. It's about understanding and accepting all of who we are, both the light and the dark, and using that full spectrum of energy to move forward in our lives with purpose and intention. It's about learning to dance with the shadows, to find beauty in the struggle, and to allow our darkness to be the fuel that propels us into the light. Growth doesn't come from comfort or ease. It's not in the moments when things are smooth, when everything is going according to plan, that we evolve. True growth comes through conflict. It is in those times of struggle, when we are pushed to our limits, that we discover who we truly are and what we are capable of achieving. It is in the face of adversity, in the heat of the battle, that our strength is forged, our resilience tested, and our potential revealed. We often think of conflict as something negative, something to be avoided at all costs. But the truth is, conflict is one of the most powerful catalysts for personal transformation. At the heart of every conflict is an opportunity. Whether it's a battle with an external force, such as a challenging situation or a difficult person, or an internal conflict where we face our own fears, doubts, or limitations, there is always room for growth. Each time we are confronted with a challenge, we are given a choice. We can either retreat, allowing the conflict to defeat us, or we can rise to meet it, using the experience to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The choice we make in those moments defines the course of our lives. It is through conflict that we learn the value of perseverance, the importance of patience, and the strength of resilience. Conflict forces us to confront our weaknesses. When things are easy, we may never realize the areas in which we need to improve. But when we face obstacles, those weaknesses become glaringly obvious. It is in those moments that we are given the chance to address them. We can either let them hold us back, or we can face them head on and work to overcome them. It's through this process that we grow. Each time we challenge our limitations, we expand our capacity. We become more resourceful, more creative, and more determined. Conflict has the power to refine us, sharpening our skills and strengthening our resolve. One of the most powerful aspects of conflict is its ability to reveal what is truly important to us. When everything is calm, it's easy to be complacent, to coast through life without really questioning what we want or what we stand for. But when we are thrust into a situation that tests us, we are forced to evaluate our priorities, to dig deep into our core values, and to decide what we are willing to fight for. It is through this process that we gain clarity about our purpose, and we find the courage to pursue it with everything we have. Conflict challenges us to be more than just passive participants in life. It calls us to be active creators of our own destiny. Moreover, conflict teaches us the importance of resilience. Resilience isn't something that can be learned from reading books or listening to lectures. It's something that is built through real, lived experiences. It's developed when we face setbacks and failures, when we fall and have to get back up again. Every time we overcome an obstacle, we become more resilient. We learn that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. We begin to trust ourselves more, to believe in our ability to navigate through challenges, no matter how difficult they may seem. In the end, conflict is not the enemy. It is the crucible in which our growth is forged. The more we face, the more we grow. The more we challenge ourselves, the more we become the person we are meant to be. Life isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about embracing it, learning from it, and using it as a stepping stone to become stronger, wiser, and more capable than we ever thought possible. Conflict doesn't define us, it refines us. It transforms us into the best version of ourselves, one challenge at a time. The idea of having a monster within us often evokes fear. We think of it as a dark, uncontrollable force, something that is meant to destroy us. But what if the monster inside us isn't an enemy to be defeated? What if it's a power that, when harnessed correctly, can propel us toward greatness? This internal monster, with its raw energy, can be the key to unlocking our true potential. When we choose to see it not as something to fear, but as something to understand and direct, we can use it for good in ways we never thought possible. Every monster inside us represents a powerful force of emotion or energy. It could be the anger that arises when we are wronged, the fear that holds us back from stepping into the unknown, or the frustration that builds when we feel stuck. These emotions are often seen as negative, things to suppress or avoid. But what if we shifted our perspective? What if instead of trying to suppress these feelings, we acknowledge them as a source of strength? After all, it's often the things that scare us the most that hold the potential for our greatest growth. Anger, for instance, is typically viewed as a destructive emotion, but when channeled in the right way, it can be incredibly powerful. It can fuel our determination to fight for what we believe in, to stand up for ourselves and others when injustice occurs. Instead of letting anger control us and lead to rash decisions or harmful actions, we can choose to use it as a driving force to create change. When we channel our anger into something productive, whether it's through advocacy, creative expression, or pursuing a goal with renewed energy, it can become a catalyst for good. Similarly, fear is often seen as something to avoid at all costs. We fear failure, rejection, and uncertainty, but fear is not inherently bad. It's a natural response to the unknown, and it can be used as a powerful tool for growth. Fear tells us what matters. It shows us where we are vulnerable and where we need to grow. Rather than letting fear paralyze us, we can choose to use it as motivation to push through the discomfort, to take risks, and to grow stronger. Fear can be the spark that drives us to step outside of our comfort zones, to challenge ourselves, and to take on the things that truly matter. Frustration, too, can be a source of immense power. When we feel stuck, when things aren't going our way, it's easy to give up. But frustration is a sign that we care, that we are invested in something. It's an indicator that we are pushing against boundaries, trying to achieve something meaningful. Instead of letting frustration turn into defeat, we can use it as fuel to keep going, to dig deeper, to find new solutions, and to adapt. When we embrace our frustration and use it to motivate us, we create a sense of urgency and purpose that can help us achieve things we never thought possible. The key to using the monster for good lies in how we choose to respond to it. The emotions that seem like obstacles, anger, fear, frustration, are not necessarily negative. It's how we channel them that determines whether they work for us or against us. When we are aware of these emotions and understand their source, we gain the power to control them rather than letting them control us. Instead of letting them lead us into destructive behavior, we can direct them toward positive action. We can take that raw energy and use it to fuel our passions, to overcome obstacles, and to create meaningful change in our own lives and the lives of others. In the end, the monster inside us doesn't have to be something that holds us back. It can be a powerful ally that drives us toward our goals, our dreams, and our purpose. The emotions and struggles we experience don't define us. They refine us, helping us become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. When we learn to use the monster for good, we transform it from a force of destruction into a force of creation, one that propels us toward a brighter future. Fear and uncertainty are two of the most powerful forces that can hold us back in life. They create doubt, stop us from taking risks, and keep us trapped in the confines of what is comfortable and known. Most of us are familiar with that sinking feeling in our stomachs when faced with something new or unknown. The fear of failure, of not being good enough, of stepping into unfamiliar territory. It all creates a mental barrier that can be incredibly difficult to overcome. But what if we could learn to not just face fear and uncertainty, but to conquer them? What if these powerful emotions didn't have to control us? What if, instead of running from them, we could use them as tools for growth and progress? Fear, at its core, is a natural response to perceived danger. It's our body's way of protecting us from harm, but it's important to recognize that not all fear is rational. Much of the fear we experience in modern life is driven by the unknown or the uncertain. We fear what we cannot predict, what we cannot control, but here's the thing, uncertainty is a part of life. It's inevitable, and it's something we can't escape. The key isn't in avoiding uncertainty, it's in learning how to thrive in the face of it. To conquer fear and uncertainty, we must first recognize that they are not signals to stop or turn back. They are signals that we are growing, that we are pushing boundaries, that we are stepping outside of our comfort zones. When we take on something new, something challenging, the fear and uncertainty we feel are not signs of failure. They are signs of progress. They mean that we are doing something that matters, something that stretches us beyond what we thought was possible. The problem comes when we let that fear control us, when we allow it to paralyze us into inaction. But we have the power to change that. The first step in conquering fear is to change our relationship with it. Instead of seeing fear as something to avoid, we can start seeing it as a signal to move forward. When we feel afraid, it's often because we are about to do something that could lead to growth. Instead of retreating when we feel fear, we can choose to lean into it. We can acknowledge the fear without letting it dictate our actions. The next time fear arises, we can remind ourselves that it's not an obstacle. It's an opportunity. It's the chance to step into a new chapter, to grow, to learn, and to prove to ourselves that we are capable of handling the unknown. Uncertainty, too, can be a source of power. Often, we want certainty in everything we do. We want a clear path, a guarantee of success, and the assurance that we are making the right decision. But life doesn't always work that way. There are no guarantees, and the path forward is rarely clear. But this uncertainty doesn't have to be paralyzing. Instead, it can be liberating. When we accept uncertainty, we release ourselves from the need for control and perfection. We give ourselves the freedom to take risks, to experiment, and to learn along the way. Uncertainty is the birthplace of innovation and creativity. It's where new ideas and breakthroughs emerge. When we embrace the unknown, we open ourselves to possibilities we never considered before. The process of conquering fear and uncertainty doesn't happen overnight. It's something we must practice every day. Each time we face a fear, we gain a little more courage. Each time we step into the unknown, we learn to trust ourselves more. We may not have all the answers, and things may not always go as planned, but that's okay. The fear will always be there to some extent. It's part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to control us. We can choose to face it, to move forward in spite of it, and to use it as fuel to become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of handling whatever comes our way. Fear and uncertainty will always be a part of life, but they don't have to hold us back. When we learn to conquer them, we open ourselves up to a life of possibility. We realize that the things we once feared are often the things that lead to the greatest rewards. We start to see that the unknown isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace, and when we do, we unlock a power within ourselves that can carry us through even the most uncertain of times. Every person has within them an untapped well of potential. It's easy to think of greatness as something reserved for the exceptional few, those born with extraordinary talents or those who have already achieved remarkable feats. But greatness isn't just for the select few. It's something that exists within all of us, lying dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The potential for greatness is not a matter of being born with certain abilities or circumstances. It's a matter of recognizing that potential within ourselves and choosing to pursue it, regardless of the challenges we may face. Greatness is often misunderstood. Many see it as an outcome, an achievement, a trophy, a moment of recognition that signifies success. But greatness is much more than that. It's a journey, a process of constant growth, learning, and evolution. It's not about reaching a final destination, but about striving to be better each day, pushing past limitations, and continuously challenging ourselves to rise above. Each step forward, no matter how small, is an act of greatness in itself. It's the willingness to keep going when the road gets tough, to keep learning when things seem unclear, and to keep trying when failure feels imminent. So, what does it take to tap into this potential? It takes courage. It takes the courage to believe in ourselves even when the world doubts us, to pursue our dreams even when others think they are impossible. The path to greatness is rarely straightforward. It's filled with obstacles, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. But those who achieve greatness are not those who avoid challenges. They are those who embrace them. They are the ones who use every failure, every mistake, and every setback as fuel for their journey. Each time they fall, they get back up. Each time they stumble, they find their footing and move forward with even greater determination. The potential for greatness also requires a deep sense of purpose. When we have a clear understanding of what we want to achieve and why it matters, we are more motivated to keep going. It's the purpose behind our actions that drives us when things get difficult, that keeps us focused when distractions arise. Whether our purpose is to create something meaningful, to help others, or to improve ourselves, it gives us the strength to push forward. Purpose gives us direction, and when we have a sense of direction, we are less likely to be swayed by the inevitable challenges that life throws our way. Equally important is the willingness to grow. Greatness is not a static thing. It's a dynamic process. It requires constant learning, unlearning, and adapting. The most successful individuals are those who are willing to step out of their comfort zones, to take risks, and to embrace change. They understand that growth comes from discomfort, that the moments of struggle and difficulty are often the ones that shape them into who they are meant to become. When we embrace growth, we open ourselves up to the possibility of becoming more than we ever thought possible. The potential for greatness lies within all of us. It's not something that can be measured by external markers of success, but something that is felt in the deepest part of who we are. It's the quiet determination to keep moving forward, the ability to turn setbacks into lessons, and the courage to keep striving, even when the path seems uncertain. The greatness within us is not about what we achieve, it's about who we become in the process. It's about discovering our inner strength, pushing past our fears, and realizing that we are capable of far more than we ever imagined. When we recognize and embrace our potential, there is no limit to what we can achieve.